Happy Thursday, folks.
Hello.
Never quite sure what the Zoom green screen detection is going to do with this shirt when I wear it. Sometimes it just wants to make me a transparent chest. All right, we're about 5 minutes after. I'm sure folks will trickle in late like they usually do. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Got a few things that are sitting out there that are open for merging and whatnot. The non-distributable layers deprecation, that one we haven't merged yet over there. Over an image spec, and I just kind of went through where we had already deprecated the non-distributable layers way back in the day. It's only kind of in a footnote in the bottom of the layers markdown file, and so if people are looking at like the manifest markdown file or other places of the spec, wasn't perfectly clear, and so I just add a couple little headers in different places. And this came up when Tianan was looking at the stuff that we were doing for the Z standard layer definition there, where we're defining a bunch of these things, and it's like, didn't we deprecate that? Yeah, but it's kind of hidden. So that is PR 1200. Getting up there in the numbers. Questions, thoughts about that one? That also goes into the Z standard support one. So I rebased that PR on top of it. If you go looking at it, it might look like there's a whole lot of changes in there. The Z standard PR 1198 is really just the lines in there that say implementation should support the following media types. So it's down the manifest markdown file. The rest of it is just rebase on the other PR. And so we have in there that says should support the Z standard layers. And otherwise, everything else in there is, I think, identical before. I don't think I changed anything else other than I moved one line around just to make it read a little better. The implementation story and copying image layers, I put that after just because we had the line there talking about gzip support and let's see, reading the manifest concern portability should support one of the above types, and those were all the tar and the tar gzip and whatnot. So trying to keep the logical flow together, and so I moved one of the line. But otherwise, this we were discussing a week or so ago that just said, hey, we should support the Z standard. So I just put that in there, that with the capital should. Y'all are going to be quiet again, aren't you? All right. The other one that was actionable, let's see. I think of at least a handful of folks that are here today gave the thumbs up, and the rest of the folks that could give the thumbs up aren't here. Well, I was just trying to get the distribution spec updated from like a year ago. Put it back in August of 2023 and never got it merged, so I just rebased it and kind of flagged it up for people's attention. But we don't have a good, we're missing a few steps of our release process, so I added the missing step and clarified a few things. Our distribution spec, not the runtime spec, so hopefully get that one merged. All of those are real simple, just needs reviews. And hopefully nothing too crazy. All right. Enough of the simple ones. Want to do something we can chat about then? We've got the request to support OCI image layer v1 raw. I'll copy this over here so people in the chat can have it. This is PR 1197 over in the image spec, where they're saying we want to support this raw layer. We want it officially supported in OCI to be included as something that goes into an image. The logic that they're going with here is that they're trying to mount some stuff into a container image that's already compressed, and it's just one big file, and they don't want to have the tar overhead. They don't want to have anything else. They just want just the file in there. They want the definition of how to mount that into a container image. I am in general against it because I think the use case they're looking for is they want to mount this in as a volume in Kubernetes. And I think for the Kubernetes volume use case, they should have just worked over there with that SIG to try to implement proper artifact support, because that's what they're creating as an artifact in that point.
Yeah, I don't see the point in a new media type for what is effectively just opaque binary data. We already have that.
Yeah. What is it? The application?
Octet stream
Yeah,
or
that's what I was.
take your pick. There's plenty of other options for this that already exist. I still think it's wrong. Adding a small bit of JSON annotation data versus adding a small bit of tar header at the beginning of the file is 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Sure, one's binary data, so it's slightly harder to generate, but it provides enough value on the other side that I think it's still better. But again, that's up to the artifact authors to decide. They can choose to do this weird thing if they really want to.
I would say the advantage of the tar is that you get not just the here's the file location, but you also get file permissions, the directory structure before that. So there's other stuff that tar can add into it. The advantage of this over a tar to make it a proper artifact is that if it's not wrapped in a tar, then you potentially could use that blob in other systems as is without having to have that extra wrapper to pull apart.
Yeah, but if we instead teach those other systems to read tarballs, then they can pull data out of any image, right?
I feel like everybody has been working on artifacts for so long is cringing right now, going, no, not a tar wrapper on everything.
Yeah. I think if we're going to try to do something more interesting, we need to be more imaginative than just let's put all the artifacts up in the registry as is.
I mean, in a way, we are putting artifacts up in the registry kind of quasi as is, but we put a media type that matches what the content actually is. So if it's an in-toto wrapped in JSON, we specify exactly what that is. And it's not opaque, it is specific. This layer is that media type. And then we would theoretically also have a config in there that says, look, the artifact type is some kind of salsa attestation.
So you're saying if they want to move forward with this, they should probably register a media type specifically for their large language models.
Either register or use something that already exists that makes sense. If
Yeah.
it's a special kind of binary format, application octet stream, if you want to be completely indeterminate. If it's JSON already, just call it JSON. But yeah, you use a type that is valid for what they're pushing up there. that doesn't help them at all with the OCI volume source stuff, but that should be solved in a different way.
Yeah, so it looks to me that maybe I'm misunderstanding this part, right? So it looks to me that they're just getting this binary whatever and then bind mounting into a container. That's all they're asking for. So then there is nothing about this OCI image and all of that stuff that gets bypassed completely.
But they're trying to define it as an OCI image because of the way the KEP was implemented in Kubernetes that says we're only going to support OCI images. They're trying to make an OCI artifact as an OCI image to force the KEP to support them.
Yeah, but it is not an image.
Correct.
Okay. So
what I see is they are doing a really bad definition of an OCI artifact. And so, yeah, it got a thumbs down from me. I figured I would raise this up before I put a hard neck on the thing and say, no, I'm definitely against it. Make sure I'm not missing anything else here, but figured I'll get a few more sets of eyes on it as well. All right, no big proponents of that.
This is 1197, right?
Yeah, 1197, where they're asking for the v1.raw layer. Is there anything from your side, Sajay, you think could take advantage of something like that, that you would need that feature versus just
No,
defining?
I can't think of anything right now. So
it feels like they're doing a bad job of defining an artifact. They're trying to be in this in-between state.
I'm still trying to understand. Are they just trying to download a raw file? Is that what they're trying to do?
They want to have a raw file pushed to the registry as is, like any other artifact, but they want to force the KEP to support it. And the KEP said we're only supporting OCI images. They're trying to call their artifact an image.
To quote Ramsey, it's raw.
but it is, yeah, but it is not an artifact the way we have defined it either, right? So it's just an octet stream, that's it.
Yeah, if it was a proper artifact, it would have a proper media type that people would know what it is. All right, I will put my official knack on that one, and we'll go forward from there. Welcome, Brian. Next one up on the list might be quick, might not. Tina's going to have fun story time, I think, on this one, hopefully. Issue 1201 I raised up of should we deprecate the URLs?
I like using it. The potential for abuse is enormous. Absolutely huge. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen more cases of it. Maybe because it's not a well-known feature. And maybe we should keep it that way.
I was looking back through old issues, cleaning stuff up. People probably saw me closing things that were pretty old in the repo. And somebody wanted to create an index that didn't have digest. They're like, all I want is URLs. I don't want a digest in there. And their idea was they wanted to have a tag that someone could hit and that would get redirected to some other thing. I'm like, that breaks everything about OCI that we've defined for all this time.
So they just don't want it to be content addressable.
Precisely.
Okay.
They wanted to completely break all the content addressability and the guarantees that come from the whole Merkle DAG stuff and just have an index of URLs that would go off to their server that would constantly rebuild something on the fly, hourly, daily, whatever.
Yeah, except URL still requires a digest because otherwise it compromises the entire data model.
Yep. But there was somebody that wanted to use this for even more.
Yeah, I've had some horrible ideas on this that I probably don't want to put in a recorded line, but let's just say URLs is probably not good. And I would probably be in favor of deprecating them, even though I like them sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not. The argument in favor of just keeping it is just regulatory reasons, right? So what is the source of this thing? That maybe something packaged in it. So that is a URL, and this is what we. So that's a common use case. The argument against it is I believe it was the infamous log4j exploit, where they were interpreting some things which were unsafe. URL included, I guess. So if the URL is malicious, then if you interpret it without taking care of validation, then that breaks things. So that is the danger of that. So my vote is actually not to deprecate it.
I think, couldn't the regulatory be solved more generically with an annotation though?
Maybe the annotation is used for something else. Yeah, it could be an annotation too, but then the argument is, again, somebody will interpret that URL in the annotation, say annotation.url, whatever, right? And then the same argument comes back. So I don't know.
Yeah, but at least then it's not a should in the spec that's telling them to interpret that URL like we have now. It's an active choice.
Curiously, the non-distributable layers section that we've got in the layers markdown file explicitly distances the two from each other. It's like you might have a URL, you might not. And if you do have a URL, it doesn't mean that it's non-distributable.
Non-distributable layers were created for Microsoft Windows images and then deprecated before they were ever actually used.
Oh, people used them.
Not the non-distributable media type. The Windows images were still Docker media types when non-distributable layers were deprecated.
Oh, good times.
Oh, correction. The Windows images are still Docker media types currently today.
The other thing is, even if it's included, if someone puts a URL in there, the text in the descriptor, pull that one back up real quick. It's an optional property to start with, but it's from which the object may be downloaded. Doesn't mean the tools that are downloading that layer are actually going to try to follow the URL.
Yeah, I think most tools will, well, most, that's the wrong word. I think Docker will probably download the URL first. I haven't verified that in the code. I would hope that it would try fetching the blob from the registry first because that's the best option and is still valid with URLs.
I thought the basic flow was if the registry returns a 404, only is the URL expected to be followed, right?
That's what it should be, yes. I don't think that's what it necessarily is consistently, especially because the spec doesn't say that that's what it should be. I don't know if the old version of the spec says that's what it should be because I haven't dug into the history. John's other favorite issue.
Geez, we were actually this was long time ago when we were thinking about the whole distribution portion of Windows layers, which was obviously a place where I didn't want to go, but we had to do it. Where we were going to depend on that behavior of yes, if it's a 404, only then did we need to worry about it. But it's good to know. I'm glad it's gone, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Microsoft managed to get the lawyers and the engineers in a room together and talk through this sufficiently that it's effectively a non-issue for us now.
I ran the get blame. This goes back to PR 442. Should throw in the chat. At least that's where they extended it, so probably goes back even farther. But back in the very early days.
W King. Even that they should be HTTP or HTTPS is a should. I love it. They must be actual URLs, but you know, you can fudge that a little bit.
Gopher.
Yeah. Put some FTP.
I think Gopher should come back since all the Golang implementations have their mascot, so.
Or we use this to once again quiet the IPFS folks. Look, the spec does support IPFS. You just have to put it in your URLs field.
All right, I'll let that one sit around for a while longer. Get some more, hopefully get some more maintainers to comment on it. Maybe John will come out of hibernation and be like, no, I need this for my MP3 player. Anything else folks want to talk about today? Oh, Tinon, you gave me a review and you didn't say anything about it. You want to just take out the non-distributable C standard layer entirely?
I think so. It feels really weird to add new language to the spec that says implementation should support a thing that we've already deprecated before we ask them to support it.
So my mental process going back and forth on that, because I strongly consider that, is that we have text there that says, yeah, we deprecated non-distributable layers, but that's only for people producing it. There should still be tools that are written that should know how to consume it for potentially past created images.
No, let's kill this thing. We don't want non-distributable layers. Let's not let Z standard have non-distributable layers. In fact, let's delete the non-distributable variant of Z standard. Let's just make it all go away.
I'll let you submit that PR.
Fair. Yeah, at least here it seems reasonably uncontroversial to not say that implementations should support non-distributable Z standard layers.
I could say right now, is anybody using this? And I know the answer is going to be no one in this room.
Yeah, certainly no one in this room. I would guess no one anywhere. Because we're talking about the subset that are playing with Z standard and the subset of those that might care about non-distributable layers. I think we're down to double digits, if not single digits, if not no digits at all.
What do other folks think? Non-distributable Z standard layers. Keep it or ditch it. I'm fine with ditching it. I just want to make sure that I'm not upsetting anybody in the process.
Can we articulate what's the motivating factor to deprecate it? Just because, is it because of the issue where somebody wants it to be actually called out? I just want to know what is the reason to move from status quo? That's it.
So the original reason to put this into the manifest markdown is that we didn't say anything about implementation should support the Z standard. So we're, in case anybody wasn't following, we're back over in 1198 right now. So we're going to say you should support the Z standard. And so when I was doing that, I just kind of copy and pasted everything and keep it consistent. And so that's kind of my OCD kicking in there. But to Tianan's point, hopefully nobody is using this today. And so if nobody is using that today, hopefully there aren't any images pre-existing that anybody would need to support. And so do implementations implement today, they're consuming this content. Should they support that? Maybe it's not a big deal. They don't.
If it's easier to clarify that, then I think it's okay. Maybe somebody will come out of the weeds and say, yes, this is a problem or not.
This is so important to me that I think the Docker engine should support non-distributable Z standard layers.
Should?
Yeah, I don't think that person's going to show up.
Okay.
Sorry, I was straw manning. That was my sarcastic
Wow.
straw man. Yep.
Okay.
Coming out of the weeds. Made of weeds.
All right. I wanted to rebase this one anyway, so I'll pull that out when I do the rebase. Get that in there. Anything else for today? Back to my tabs, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I'll go through, I'll fix the should on Z standard, and I will go do a hard neck on the layer.v1.raw to say that, you know, I'm opposed to that one strongly now. I was soft opposed at first, and now I'm like, no, I definitely don't want this. Okay. Oh, Brian, you want to chat about Blake 3? We can do that. We haven't chatted about Blake 3 in a couple weeks.
Oh, just more question. Did anything come up? I know we talked about it a few weeks ago.
Definitely came up. Got too many tabs. Did that even turn into a Rose PR? I think that was over a distribution spec, wasn't it? Or was it?
Blake 3 is probably image spec.
So yeah, the distribution spec side of it was how do you push that content? And the image spec was, do we change it to be properly supported? I'm just adding tabs to my browser. Good thing you guys can't see this. Tab overflow. I think for this, all that's left is for somebody to go into the spec at some point and make a PR that says we're officially supporting it. I'd love to be able to do more tests with it. And I think to do that, I need to update myself to a different version of the to the descriptor package, or no, the digester package, sorry. Because they have not released their support of that. I don't think BuildKit has it. I don't think many people have it at all. The fact that the digester package itself right now, the OCI digest package, it's there, but it is not, they haven't generated a tag since then or cut a tag. And I think they also want to move it because right now you have to import another sub package to get it to register. But yeah, last release was in May of 2020. So who's maintaining that one over there?
The reason I ask is if you have any clients actually doing this, then it's easier to say, point to, yes, we need this as a should or a must, and keep it moving forward. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics because I don't question the actual value of it.
I think that's the big question is, as you add this in, does image spec add it first? Does Go Digest package implement it? Does a third-party project have to implement it first?
And Go
And-
Digest already did, right?
So they did, but they haven't released nothing. I don't know if they're waiting on a release or what. I'm not sure.
I don't. What's the polite way to put this? I think you're attributing more intent there than there exists. I don't think they're explicitly waiting for anything. I think it just hasn't come up. And so nobody's done it because it's not a project that receives a lot of attention.
Well, they've got since April of 2021. Drop this one I'm looking at. So they've got an old pull request that says, let's promote this to a first class. There's a little bit of discussion in there on that. Guessing everybody's doing the same thing I'm doing, which is scrolling through the PR. I think what this did was it moved some of the stuff that was in the Blake 3 folder and moved it up to the top level so that it'll be registered just like every other algorithm together at once. And so implementations wouldn't have to do anything to support this upgrade to a new version of Go Digest. So what do folks think about that PR 66?
I don't love the added third-party required dependency, but it's probably a tiny amount of code. I say that and then I go look at it and it's probably a lot more than I'm thinking.
So they pulled in their own Go mod to make sure they didn't get pulled in, didn't they? Looks like it.
Yeah, basically, to rephrase my concern, Go Digest is a low-level fundamental library for much of the ecosystem. And this adds Blake 3 to everyone's dependency tree and this additional PCG package that it depends on.
CPU ID, a couple of Zebo things, yeah.
And Zebo, yeah, Zebo assert. Several Zebo things.
Yeah, this is not the most optimal implementation of Blake 3. It is still a single-threaded implementation. The true power of Blake 3 is in multi-threaded implementation.
I feel like the easiest way to get this to move quicker is if Go includes it in the standard library the way they just did the C standard compression.
Doesn't it say it uses SSE and what have you? AVX.
I think Tianon just got you there. Folks are asking for it, but it's not there.
Although I am strongly in favor of Blake 3. It enables certain use cases.
I feel like it's gonna enable some stuff. But if we put it in there, I'd like to put it in there in a way that everybody just gets it and they don't have to do anything other than just upgrade to the new version of Go Digest. And to do that, I kind of agree with Tianon that it would be a whole lot better if this was in the standard library and not an external package.
Which may never happen.
Go add stuff, it just takes a while. Looking at the X crypto thing, I think the hesitation over there is that if it's the same one I've seen before, just that they were saying this was a very new algorithm.
I didn't actually see any official hesitation there. I didn't see anything at all.
Maybe I was looking at a different issue back in the day because I feel like I've seen stuff asking for Blake 3. And the comment was something along those lines. Let me see if I can find it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Someone has to not just submit it, but maintain it. It's new, so there hasn't been proper cryptanalysis or an attack yet, but that was 4 years ago, so maybe
Yeah,
there's been scrutiny in 4 years.
I think the new thing was the one that might have been the one I saw.
But yeah, since that first comment in January of 2020 from AL Tree, who is a member of the Golang organization, there has been no further comment from any official Go individual.
It's not like they don't have a lot of issues they look through.
Yeah, I certainly don't envy their workload.
All right. Anything else or anything more on this? Or is Brian signing up to be the new person for this?
I just ask questions.
I already signed up for too many things myself, so I'm not signing up for anything else now. All right. If no one else has anything they want to chat about, we can get 15 minutes back in your day and give you a chance to think about something you want to chat about next week. Sound like a plan? Going once, going twice, gone? Cheers.